So, welcome, Ross, to this conversation about co creating the third attractor. Very
Well,
happy to have you on. I was
happy to
looking
be here.
forward. Yeah. So, what is the third attractor? How do you understand the third attractor? What does it mean to you? I know you know a little bit about what is meant, but I'm very curious how you think about the third attractor, and then we take it from there and go wherever it takes us.
Great. Well, Danielle, I might reframe the question just a little bit.
Yeah, please do so.
I would say this. If we want to know what the third attractor is, sometime, somewhere, somebody like me or somebody that you have on the show or some group of us or body of us or something is going to be able to answer that question and say, Daniela, I am the third attractor.
Mm,
I am the third attractor. And then we would know what the third attractor is. We wouldn't have to speculate. It wouldn't be a construct. It wouldn't be an idea or something like that. We would know what that is. And um, I guess I'm starting there because there's been some, really famous I am statements, back in
mm,
spiritual history. And I know one thing that you and I share is the mystical ground, the
yeah,
ground of being, by so many names that it goes by, the formless, timeless, boundless, the non-dual, God, the one. My
yeah,
favorite word for it is the field.
yeah.
And might be coining a new phrase for it called the third attractor. And it's interesting because we'll talk a little bit about language because it's not an it. That's one
Yeah.
of the problems with speaking of it in language. But what I want to bring into the conversation, just kind of initially, is in my background, I started out in Christian mysticism. That's where I started out, and that's kind of my home place, where I kind of began all this experiment that's been going
Mm-hmm,
on
mm-hmm,
now in both of our
mm-hmm.
lives for what, half a century now. You know,
Yeah.
we've been on this trail for a long time. And in Christian mysticism, there's a very, very famous teacher student interaction. It's probably the most famous thing and oft quoted thing in the Christian Bible. It comes from John 5:6. And
Mm-hmm.
here's the setup. We've got the disciples, they're sitting at the Last Supper. Jesus is about ready to go into this deliberate death experience, stuff like that, this kind of crazy thing that nobody can understand. And here's one of his disciples, Thomas, and he basically says, "Show me the way. Show me the way. Where are we going? Where are we going? And how do we get there? We've been hanging around you now for years, and I don't know the way. You haven't shown me, the way to do all that, which is kind of the question that we're asking here. What is the way forward? What is the way
Yeah.
forward?
Yeah.
What,
True.
what is the way?
Mm-hmm.
We're asking the Thomas question. What is the way?
Yeah.
And the great guru, I'll use Eastern terms to describe him, turns to the guy and says, I am the way.
Mm-hmm.
I am the truth. I am the life.
Yeah.
So, what I'd like to explore with you is what it would take for you or me or somebody or a collective of us or whatever to be able to make that kind of a statement in full honesty, uh, which would be an amazing thing. I can't make that statement. And just to unpack it just a little bit for our audience, just to know what it is, these English words, way, truth, life, they are incredibly poor substitutes for what the underlying Greek words are that are being translated underlying. So the first question is, who's the I that's speaking?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the author of that particular gospel uh, introduces it right at the very beginning, and just to say, in the beginning was the Word, Word. The Word was God. The Word was made flesh, and all that. And the word that is being translated as word is the logos, which is the Greek word for the divine ground, the
Yeah.
the being, um, the non-dual, the timeless, boundless um, state out of which everything is arising. So that was their word for it. They called it the logos. So in the beginning was the logos. Okay. And so the I that is speaking is that logos. Okay. That's the I that is speaking. So it's saying, I am the way. So the way, the Greek word is basically hodos. It means literally the road,
Yeah.
but it's really the ground upon the means by reaching the destination, the ground upon which you are walking. Okay. So
Would you also say, because I come up from a process teaching, I can very much relate to what you're saying, but I would understand then I am the way also as I am the process that is moving forward. Because
correct.
in a oneness teaching, in a non-dual teaching, I wouldn't just see this as the ground, but also literally the
Yeah.
pathway forward
Yeah, and
towards
that's going to come
whatever.
in when we talk about the next word, the way, the truth. So
Okay. Yeah.
hang on for a minute.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, when we're talking about the process or the non-dual ground or however we want to describe it, this is a statement of literal fact. Okay, it's not a speculative statement.
Hmm.
It's not a
Hmm.
statement about the idea. It is a statement of really kind of physical reality
Hmm.
that you are already walking
Yeah.
in the way, which is what all spiritual teaching gets to at some
Yeah.
particular point in time, that all you have to do is remember where you are and remember the ground that you're walking on, which is not in it. It's a context.
Yeah.
It's something that we don't have language really. Language is a very poor mechanism to describe it because it's
Yeah.
always talking about a subject object dualism when we get into language. We can talk about that in just a second, but basically it's the ground. Say I am, that this is the ground.
Yeah.
And then he says, and I am the truth. Okay. And the truth it is so much different than our English word for truth, which means a fact or veritas or something like that. It's this word aletheia. I am aletheia. I spent a whole weekend with a Christian mystic unpacking the meaning of that one word,
Oh, wow.
which is really a very interesting word because what sits in the middle of the word is lethe. And lethe is like the root of lethargic. Okay. It is sleepiness, it is death. And you put a in the front of it means it's opposite. And thea
Oh, yeah.
is the methodology by which we awaken from sleep or death. Okay.
Wow.
So the truth is being translated in that particular thing is that it describes just what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
methodology by which we become awakened to reality.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. And as a guru, he's sitting there and saying, this is my job description. This is what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I awaken you, to reality. And then the life is this Zoe, what that means is the animating force. Okay. The animating force. It's of the cosmos. And, we have, when we have an experience of what this quote thing is, we know that all those things are true, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's first of all the realest thing that we've ever experienced.
Yeah.
It is a sudden awakening, and there's an energizing element to it where like when I had my opening back in my 20s, it's like you've been sick all your life and you've suddenly been made well.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's what that feels like. And it's almost impossible to talk about it in language.
Yeah.
This is a problem because it's not an it. So when I say like the word, like Danielle, hand me a pen. So here's my pen, okay, and you hand it to me, and we all know what a pen is, right? Because the word pen is a signifier or sign, and this is the referent. This is what it's referring to.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about it in language, the thing that we're referring to is not an it like
No,
that.
it's not. It's an
Okay.
I.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an I, or
Uh,
and it's certainly not the small I. It's not the separate
No,
sense of
it's not a
self or
small
the
I.
personality
That
or yeah. So I'm gonna shut up and let you
no, no, no.
give your perspective. But
This
I
is
just want to give
fascinating.
you
I
the context for that kind of a historical precedent, and it
uh,
might be a made up story, but nonetheless, it's there, and I think we've been around in spaces and with people or in experiences where we might at some particular point in time be able to say, I am the third attractor, and that would
yeah.
be amazing.
It would be and it is. And you know, Ross, what you probably don't know is that my third attractor conversations actually started with exactly the thought that a friend of mine and I were talking about that this term of the third attractor that came from Daniel Schmachtenberger. And then we looked at each other and said, but we have the answer. We know the third attractor. We know what it is as a, at least as a spiritual force, like this
Right.
awakening to becoming. We are just in the process of publishing a book that is called the Book of Becoming, that makes
Hmm.
an integral non-dual manifesto in a world of transition. That's how it's called. And this is absolutely what you just described in Christian words.
Right.
And we go into this. It's almost not it's not a description as you know. It's more like a felt sense of what it means to be so connected to the life process that you can serve this emerging third attractor step by step, second by second, minute by minute, by just giving yourself to the process and at the same time be actively co-creating the process. And then you can say, I am the third attractor. And I've met so many people where I felt like they can say that. You can say that. So many people are connected to something that wants to emerge and is not yet totally here. And this is a constant process. It's beautiful.
Right. Well, it's a bold statement for the separate sense of self to say. And it's,
It shouldn't be said by the separate
that's
sense
just
of
it's
self.
just like, hey, are you kidding me? you know, the guy that woke up this morning had the coffee, read the yeah, that's not who we're talking about,
No,
when we're speaking
yeah.
from this space. So it's a bold statement to be able to make and to back up. Yes, so I would like to talk with you about what it would take for us or for the broader expanded I, or my favorite word for the third attractor is the field. I wrote a
Yeah,
book
yeah,
called Keepers of the
yeah,
Field that coins this kind of new term for it, and I think new terms are important,
yeah.
to be able to talk about it in fresh ways.
Very
So
important.
yes, yeah,
I wrote a little science fiction novel called The Viratya Myth Begins, where I consciously invented new words for ego, for the authentic self, for the big self versus the small self, because I felt the old words are so loaded.
yes, they are.
So yes,
We need new language, and God bless everybody that was coining the old words. In the East, the words, because we're not talking about an it, and they're well aware of the fact that we're not,
no,
always use negative language. So it's thoroughly apophatic. So it's non-dual,
yeah,
formless. boundless, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's apophatic language that goes with a kind of the Eastern methodology for finding this ground, which is to cut away, cut away, cut away, cut away the confusions of the mind, get the mind quiet, get the mind to be a still reflecting pool, to go down and down and down and down and back and back and back to discover what's at the base
Yeah.
of everything. So that's kind of the methodology. And then a Western word like logos is, the via positiva. So the via negativa is the apophatic way, but there's also a
Hmm.
cataphatic way, a way of the positive, and they sit in a polaric structure. They need each other. They
Hmm.
need each other because if you just are doing non stuff, non, the non-dual nonness of no thing.
You
Just
get
forget.
into nihilism, no? Or
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
get into nihilism.
Yeah, exactly. So you get the negative parts of that
Yeah.
polarity. And on the Western side, a word like the logos that now gets translated down into all of like logic, that's the word that it comes from, all the
Hmm.
methodologies that we're going to try to use to create a just society, that we're going to use to form ethics and morality and everything like that, which was the whole focus of Aristotle and Neoplatonists and all that sort of thing. When it gets down into that whole thing, it just gets more and more and more and more and more and more and more, and now so it ends up in this vastly confused and distracted state that we find ourselves in now all the time. Okay,
Yeah.
it's just like, and everybody knows that that's not it. Scrolling on these cell phones and
No.
that's not going to work. Uh, so there's this polarity between these two, and I think the balancing of these is it, and it's not a balance. It's not a teeter totter. It is literally a third way. So as we try to balance all of these things, that's really not the right thing because we're kind of
Exactly.
always off balance and correcting, which is important in a personal life. You've got to correct. You got to know how to drive your car and walk and all of that sort of thing. But that's really not what we're talking about. We're talking
No,
about
no. You want to
there's
hold
really
it as truth on both sides, no? Like you want to
yes.
hold it as one truth that kind of consolidate. It's even difficult to say what it does, but it's not sliding the scale to the middle to find a middle ground. That's not what we are talking here. I totally agree.
Correct. It is not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
To scale the middle and try to hold some sort of perilous uh,
No.
balance. Although, if we're just in the ego, that is the job. We
Yeah.
we just got to control ourselves. We got to use self control. We got to learn how to handle booze and drugs and
Yeah.
sex
Yeah.
and money and all of these little balances that we're taught. We can get into all of those systems, those and why they're important. But um, this conversation is about another possibility.
Exactly. Let me ask you a question here. What is the pathway for you today in our postmodern world where, as we both know, not many people accept gurus anymore, even though they were helpful to find that I. And what is the pathway forward in a integral, or however we want to call it, or third attractor world, for people to learn to get access and persistent access to the I am that we are. In silence, it's relatively easy to answer, probably with meditation, but also in action, like the awakening to the I amness in creating in action. How do you see the pathway today?
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you the same question after I answer, okay? Because I
Okay.
want to hear from you
Yeah.
about it. I would say that um, I I cannot make the I am statement right now. Okay, and in my daily life, so I may be a poor person to ask. My personal pathway is kind of a standard issue thing. I am not a monk. I'm a father. Mary and I have three kids. I've been in a long-term 40-year relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lawyer. I have done a lot of work in the world. I'm a very worldly guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of experience in the world. I've never done the monastic thing, which was to take myself into a deliberate, otherworldly or
Yeah.
non-worldly environment. So you're talking to someone that has been in the world for a long time, asking this question as a person in the world. So in that particular context or that role, my go-to solution has been service.
Yeah.
That's the way that I can, in my own small way, do the Bodhisattva vow.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have been attracted over the years to conflict, to situations, to being a peacemaker. I spent 25 years as a mediator, just chunk to chunk to chunk to chunk to chunk, day after day after day after day, dealing with just a tangle of emotions and lawsuits and people fighting each other, family fighting each other, churches fighting each other, people that have been injured wanting recoveries and things like that. And to try to find some sort of a pathway where that could get that violence could at least get resolved by an
Mm-hmm.
agreement by and had a lot of success with that. And that was a very, very popular service, far more
Yeah.
popular than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
And then trained a bunch of lawyers on how to do that, how to become peacemakers. About 1,000 lawyers. I was in the training team for that, and then went to big companies, Chevron Corporation, the FDIC, Jones Day, the biggest law firm in the world at that point in time, and just say, hey, here's a possibility of how you can work with your clients to
Yeah.
get them to start moving towards a different path than this highly conflicted path that they're on right now. So I stepped into darkness, okay, and deliberately,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because that poor little tiny light of mine. That little song, this is a light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. It's like a little light. And when I've got my small little light in a very dark place, it
It
in
still gives light.
it still can give some light. Okay. So, and I still do that. I'm working with clients that are in all these tangles, and I try to help people sort out the crazy stuff they get into. When oftentimes when they're following their highest intentions, they get into crazy situations. God, spiritual communities, as we all know, can just turn into absolute messes, financial messes, and they've got sexual problems and they've got power problems and all that. So I've worked with lots of that stuff
Mm-hmm.
over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of service, and of course just in terms of the basics, I do my best to be a decent guy, a
Yeah.
good father, a good citizen. I pay my taxes and I vote and we have good relationships with the neighbors. I grew up in a kind of a rural middle class background in the Midwest of Illinois, back with all those kind of values. My dad who was a community leader, said, if you want to be a good leader, you got to be a good person first. You have to learn self
Mm-hmm.
control.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, be, control your passions, your emotions, your lust, your greed, all of that sort of stuff that the Stoics did so well.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, and then be a good neighbor, you know, be a good
Yeah.
citizen, and that's step number two. And then if you then lead, from that place
Mm-hmm.
after you've established some self control and some good interactions with people, non-abusive,
Yeah.
and I think that our leadership could use a little of that right now.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little, like, say, here's the basic leadership course, and all that. So that's all kind of basic stuff. It's just like, it's kind of like the Eightfold Path or something like that, where the Buddha's just laying out some basics, about how you need to kind of operate the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So I
I'm
think
not
that
sure I would call it basic. And I want to challenge one thing that you said, because I like to challenge you because of the truth that I feel that comes through what you are saying. When you say I cannot say I am right now, let me ask you a question, a very concrete question, a very important
right.
question. Are you doubtless about what you have experienced, what you know to be true, the way you
I,
started it at the beginning?
I don't have any doubt about it.
So that's
Um,
my point.
right.
Because I think personally that's all we need. Because the moment when the doubt is gone, then we can do exactly what you beautifully described. Then we are actually available for to respond to life in exactly the way life wants us to respond in the body mind personality we are in right now. Not like we have an idea it should look like, not like having an idea, should I be a monk, should I do this, should I do that. But if we have had the grace to know without any doubt who we are and what the foundation of reality is, then what you describe is, in my opinion, exactly how we want to live. We want to just be our best expression based on this doubtlessness of knowing who we are. And the question, if we then can stand somewhere and say, I am with conviction or not, for me is almost secondary, as
Mm,
long that there is the doubtlessness. But for that doubtlessness to be experienced, we need a path. We need to work on, or most people need, not all of them. Some have spontaneous revelations, but I think most people need to work towards that doubtlessness. But once we found, we have to be bold enough to admit that we are finders and not seekers anymore. That's kind of the bottom line.
well, that's a beautiful way of saying it. Yes, there were finders and not seekers.
Yeah,
The reason why I'm saying I don't know, it's not because I have any doubt
yeah,
about
I can feel that.
about fundamental reality, and I also don't have any doubt that the third attractor needs to be based in this
Yeah,
because this is going to be the whole first domino. Okay,
yeah,
it's the first domino of a different chain of cause and effect than if you are working from the isolated, separate sense of self, the or the
yeah.
just the material world, and we're just trying to, you know, balance the chaos or creating chaos and or too much chaos or too much order, which is what Schmachtenberger was talking about. We can
Mm-hmm,
talk about
mm-hmm.
him in just a second, but it's a whole first domino. It's a different chain of cause and effect.
Yeah,
We
totally.
start we start there. The reason why I'm hesitant is because from a limited I standpoint, I'm still in a small self ego. I'm still riding that horse. I'm still inside that vehicle. And the state experience of the non-dual, of the timeless, boundless, or the field, or the third attractor, uh, when I had an awakening experience, the experience that I have waking up this morning isn't anywhere near the
Mm,
intensity of that experience. So I'm not, because you just blow open. Okay, your
yeah,
heart just open, and there is you're aware of the interpenetrating power of a field that is composed of love itself. It is nothing but that. Nothing but that. Uh, so let me tell you a dream. So let me just say, when you're talking about process, I'm in process just like everybody is. Okay. I'm in process. I'm in a process.
we
So
all are, no?
yeah, exactly. And so there's a referent, back at the beginning. And the thing about the ground is that is kind of it's the Wizard of Oz story, that you've got it the entire way. It's always with you the entire way, which is what you're pointing out. It's always with us. Okay, you didn't have to. It's not off in the future somewhere. It's
No,
always with us every step of the way that we're doing, which was Teilhard de Chardin's idea of the omega point. It was always
yeah,
not something in the future, but always there with us. So
yeah.
yes, it's always there with us as we are navigating this world and in these crazy vehicles, that we're in.
And
Um,
why I brought this in because I really love how you connect this insight, this deep insight in the truth of reality to the third attractor. I believe that it's a spiritual misunderstanding that only if we can permanently be in a state we can live this liberated life. And I think it's much more likely that probably a rare guru somewhere in the Himalayas can actually do this. I I still haven't met anybody where I felt like they are permanently in that state. And my own guru taught us very thoroughly that we want to become state independent. We want to express what we have experienced without having to constantly grab for the state because it's so beautiful. The state experiences are absolutely amazing. But if
yeah,
we make our own liberation dependent on states, then we are not liberated.
sing it, sister. Yeah, I am 100% agreement on that. And I've seen it, uh,
Yeah.
you know, in real time. We did the Integral Center here in Jeff Salzman, Namali, and I, along with Jason Lang, we built this Integral Center here in Boulder, 12,000
Hmm.
square foot urban facility to run all these gurus. And, Andrew Cohen was there and Ken Wilber was there and Richard Rohr was there. We brought in all of these people, and the place was full of state chasers. Okay. It was. They're sitting in the front row. They want a state experience from this
Yeah,
person.
exactly.
And they've got holes in their socks, and they're especially the men. The women are just sitting there. Can you tell this guy to grow up? He's like chasing a state. It's like he's not meeting my needs. He's in
Yeah,
this state, but he can't relate to me and can't do
yeah,
anything that I need, like hold a job or anything like that. And yeah, then there's people then fake the states, and then there's some people that come out of the states and they're just wearing their robes and everything. They're doing nothing but giggling,
yeah,
and
yeah.
giggling is not enough for the
No, it's
the
not.
death and suffering of the world. And they're just looking at the illusion in the states. And then that's before we get into drugs, which is the thing that can really pop you for temporarily into that state. And then you fall back into another place. And I'm not convinced that you fall forward, when you're using a lot of drugs. And even though
Yeah, yeah.
I've tried that methodology, just like many, many people have, that's a temporary opening. And so, yeah, but yeah, if you're chasing states, I don't think it's gonna
No,
work.
and it's another of these paradoxes. At the same time, I want to also hold up a flame for the state experiences that are powerfully transmitted by gurus because without having had the experience, the authentic experience, you can also not claim that you know reality for yourself. And that's so important. So, like, to have state experiences just that show you the reality or is so important, seems so important. You cannot not just read it in books and hear it from other people. You need the experience yourself. But then you also have to have the courage to let it go and not chase it. Because once you saw, no? Like the second one and the third one, the truth is not different in a way. It's beautiful, but it's once you know, you know.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. And we were at the Integral Conference, you and I, where we met just a few weeks back,
Yeah.
and Terry Fallon basically, and integral speak, it loves colors and numbers for everything. So it's like we're talking about 6.5 in the integral thing, and her observation was that is the only like level of consciousness we actually need to have an experience of this thing first as an introductory thing. And it's important to have an experience so
Hmm.
that there's a context or a referent
Yeah.
when we're talking about that, and also, of course, stays with you,
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
cooks you from the inside out. It's like it becomes then your north star, your
Yeah.
pole star in
Your
everything.
third attractor.
Your third attractor,
Yeah.
exactly right. And like it's trying to bring everything in the world into it, bring
Yeah.
everything in the world into it, which is one of the fundamental teachings of Christian mysticism. It's just everything
Yeah.
in the world
Yeah.
is going to be pulled into this thing, and that is our hope. That is our salvation. That we are going to be liberated from our sin and suffering and death. It's going to all be pulled into this what we're now calling the third attractor. So and that's the hope, and it's always then always present, at the same time, because the pulling in process can't happen without it being present.
Yeah. No,
It's
exactly.
it's both the ground and the goal. That's one way of
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the ground and the path and the goal all together.
Yeah.
So when we take this as our starting point, and I love it to take this as our starting point for
Great.
the third attractor, and take a little bit only like the four quadrants into view from integral, then up to now we were talking about left quadrant, inner development, spiritual awakening, yeah, or not, yeah, even the awakening and not the growing up dimension. But then when it comes to showing up, what you beautifully described, how you feel like your life is a life of service, of giving yourself to the world best you can with your skill set. So that's upper right quadrants in a way. What I'm curious to hear from you is, how do you see the system side of things? Because I tried to cover in my conversation kind of the full spectrum of what is needed in the world. And with spiritually inclined people, it's very easy to speak about the left quadrants and probably the upper right. But when it comes to systems change, and as a lawyer, you must have some ideas what would need to happen there for the world to become a better place.
Okay. So this is a big question, okay,
Yes.
about systems. So the systems conversation is very important because the systems are the social context in which
Yeah.
we operate. Okay, we are going to get the output that the system allows in most cases, unless we're breaking the system or something like that. The the law uh, is the thing that we use right now in system creation. It's the primary tool for doing it.
Yeah.
And it has its current way of balancing based upon rights, okay, of people, of animals, and now expanding now into the rights of nature and things like that.
Mm.
It is a way of basically getting to that middle point of the balance that we're talking about. The law doesn't really talk about the third attractor. So, an example of what the law does really well. There's an intersection about a quarter mile from my house. Where probably 100,000 cars a day
Hmm.
pass, and then there's probably 500 or 600 people on bicycles, and another 150 or 200 people on foot.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're all passing at this intersection. Okay, and so uh, that's a legal structure of laws and rules and regulations. We don't need to get
Hmm.
the entirety of its legal structure, but we can contrast what happens in India, where it's just a whole bunch of people I've never really
Driving.
all of which are driving down the center of the road, all of which are meeting at the same time, and they're relying on open air kind of sound systems of beeping, honking, honking, beeping, beeping,
Yeah,
stopping, weaving, stuff like that, and somehow that works for them. It's not going to work here where people are in their SUVs and trucks and they're talking on their cell phone and they're in air conditioning and stuff. They're in a very isolated world in these huge, you know, engines of death that can kill a
yeah,
bicyclist or a pedestrian, just like that. And so other systems have to come into place. And so
yeah,
so you begin to regulate it, and it grows over time. And in the U.S., what happens? It grows on the basis of reality and kind of disasters. So the way that we work in a free society here, what we call free, is everything that is not prohibited is allowed. Okay. So it's wide open spaces, and then the regulation and the law and the systems come in after it to regulate it and to make it safer. There are
yeah,
other systems that work on the opposite principle, which is to basically say you can't do anything if it's not allowed. Okay. You got a small group of things that you can do, and it's got to be allowed before you can do it. But here it's not that way. So the intersection grows up. What are the first things that happen? Well, it works pretty well when it's just a footpath and people passing on horses. You don't need a lot of structure. You don't need a system. But then when you get a horse and buggy, you kind of need a system so that one horse and buggy is going down one lane and the other one's going down another one. That's a system. That's a left and right system. That's the first one that comes in. Then when you get automobiles don't have articulated turns like a horse and buggy, so they can't turn around a square corner. So you need to round the corners in order to do that.
hmm,
At every step of that way, there's death. Okay, there's a kid like a kid in Detroit. It finally did. Went out from when automobiles first came in and all the square corners were there. He went out to get a loaf of bread for his mom. Came back dead. Okay, because the car's jumping the square corner. And that was just enough of a tragedy to say, okay, we got to now go to all of this expense to round the corners. Then it got to be a good idea to get the people out of the road. Okay,
yeah,
so now it's
yeah,
sidewalk. And now you've got to claim by eminent domain people's property so that now people can ride on the side, can walk on the sidewalks in relative safety. And then you need crosswalks where if people are in the crosswalks, the law is that the big instrumentality yields to the weakest and most vulnerable. So the pedestrians have the right of way and the cars have to stop.
yeah.
Okay. And then you get into the stop signs, and it used to be just a traffic cop, sitting there saying, come, go, come, go, come, go, until the traffic cops started getting hit and injured, and that didn't work. And so you got the red light and green light. It used to be just red and green. Okay. And then somebody invented that beautiful yellow light, which was the pause where the intersection, the
Yeah,
breath that the intersection takes, where everybody exits the intersection and it's clean for an instant before the traffic starts to come again.
yeah.
Okay. Which makes it safer. So all of these things get built up over time, built up, built up, built up. And then everybody, says they give up their right to go 120 miles an hour down the middle of the road. They stop, and it becomes normative. So
Yeah, so
that's
you are saying you believe in the evolution with strange situations, the evolution of the system. That's what I hear you describe. Yeah, like the
that's
systems adapt to what is needed, learns from what is happening, and adapts to what is needed. And I
that,
would say that's a very optimistic and beautiful view on systems change. But how does it work when it's not about the roads, when it's about our financial system that seems to be quite corrupted nowadays, or political systems that seem to be quite corrupted, democracy that doesn't seem to work as well as it was designed? So that's where I feel like with the third attractor conversation, we need almost like a leapfrogging to something else. It doesn't seem to work right now, these beautiful adaptations that you are describing.
Exactly right. So just to put a little pin in that, that's how the law has worked now, and it's how it's
Yep.
handled technology, and how it's handled change in the past. And it does a pretty good job of that. It
Yep.
makes punishments fit the crime. It doesn't hold juveniles to the same standards it does adults. As drivers ed courses and stuff like it. It does a pretty good job of creating
Hmm.
safety and the ability to live in peace in a community. Where the police carry the guns, and like here in Boulder, nobody does. It's not
Yep.
the Wild West. We don't have to defend ourselves against robbers and all that sort of thing. I just want to acknowledge that it does a pretty good
Yep.
job. Okay.
Yep.
So, what you're talking about now are the phenomenal changes that are taking place, which are no longer local and they're no
Yep.
longer physical. So, AI would be an example.
Yeah.
It crosses borders like that. Governments are really not going to be able to regulate it because it crosses
Hmm.
borders. It's global in its scope, and people are terrified. That this thing has been loosed upon the world. Technology has been loosed upon the world, and that it's going to come with all of its benefits and all of its disasters. There's disaster scenarios. It'll take over itself. It'll take care over all of our weapon systems. It'll be the one that's controlling us from robots and everything like that. And those are probably real scenarios. So, how does the third attractor work in systems? Um, I have some, I have actually a great faith in humanity.
Mm.
I really do. I have a great faith in our process of evolution.
Yeah.
And I have a great faith in the non-dual ground as being a reality and as an attractor that is ultimately going to be leading us and moving us forward. I have also, a great faith in pain and how it drives us. So that's more like Terence McKenna's idea of a third attractor, that there's a push of all of this pain and chaos and everything like that, but there's a pull of
Yeah.
something that's
Yeah.
great, and we can feel the push and pull in our own bodies. That's not a hard thing to know. We want better.
Yeah.
We want more. We want better for ourselves, better for our kids. So where does that whole better thing come from? Okay.
Yeah.
That's a third attractor force. We want something that is we want to grow.
Yeah.
We want to expand, and those are kind of inherent forces that I think that are trustworthy both on the individual and the collective level.
Yeah.
And so it might be local. Okay, it might be starting with the one, and then the two, then the three, then the four. It might be more local than we think. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. It might be, and that's
When
kind
you
of the
say local, you mean bottom up.
well, not necessarily bottom up. It could be top down, bottom up. This is more the islands of coherence concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of how in it when you look in biomimicry, that's how ecosystems grow. They
Yeah.
they don't just all of a sudden boom, splash out, and it's also how they die. So if you look at desertification of a landscape, it doesn't happen all at once. It happens like a smallpox where there's bare ground and scaled ground with white scale on it and everything like that. It looks great from a horizontal level. You look at it from a vertical level, you see it's dying. Okay,
Yeah.
in different places. And then when that dying becomes enough and they all join together, it becomes desertified and the whole ecosystem goes down. Okay. But it builds in other ways in the opposite way, where there's a plant that takes root here. Maybe it's a little thorny,
Hmm.
maybe it's a little prickly, maybe it's the one that can live in the degraded ground. Good for it. It starts stabilizing the soil, and then the softer and more beautiful plant comes in, and then the
Yeah.
soil
Yeah.
and the bigger trees begin to grow. So it grows in that way. I have less confidence that some great guru or Congress or United Nations are going to be able to come up with some big idea
Hmm.
that does it. So I have much more confidence in us.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
in these conversations,
Yeah.
uh, And I think that gets us back to the starting point, like saying we are the third attractor. That
Yeah,
statement
that's
needs to be
beautiful.
able to be made. And
Yeah, yeah,
made in ones and twos and threes and fives and thousands and millions. There are tipping points that happen. That's well known. We need, uh, you know, I don't know, 100 million people. It's not going to take that many relative to the.
yeah. I'm not so sure about the tipping points, but we'll see. And I hope that there is somewhere a tipping point. But I'm very much with you that it all boils down to each and every one of us, and also to each and every one of us doing the best we can wherever we are. Like really this attentiveness. What can I do where I am? And not be distracted by the big strategies that we anyway cannot put into practice, but really
Yeah,
just start where we are. And with these third attractor conversations, I met so many people that do exactly that are totally connected to the field and do exactly that and are creating these islands of coherence.
yeah, and they may not be as islandy as that metaphor
Yeah,
that talks about. Another way of thinking about a connected field is the quantum field, where everything you've got this spooky action at a distance, everything is connected. But for example, with you, Danielle, what you're doing with this program, which I really applaud, you know, thank
thank
you for setting it up. So what happens in this is we're having these discussions. Somebody's going to come in and intersect with this discussion, right? Somebody that maybe we never met or wouldn't meet otherwise.
you. Yeah,
And so they come in and they intersect with this discussion, and something about it, if we're doing it right, will change then the trajectory
yeah,
of them in a different way. That's what the third attractor does. You come into its field, its gravitational field, and your trajectory is changed as you exit at the gravitational field, and then that has then an effect, and another effect, and another effect, and another
yeah,
effect. There, so that is the and that's of course what gurus do, right? You get into their field, and it's like, wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
My
exactly.
trajectory just got changed because I just sat in front of this woman or this man.
Yeah,
That's what they do,
yeah,
uh, and so I have some faith in that. That is a form of cause and effect, and it might
yeah,
seem like it's uh, all on the interiors, but it's not because conduct changes and then conduct changes and everything like that. So, just to be kind to your children and to deal with your plants in your backyard and to show up well and everything like that. Those changes over time, those hard won things. I think the quality of those interactions change. I know in my world, the quality of my interactions has palpably changed
yeah,
over the last half century, without a doubt.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And at the same time, the world has not really changed to the better. So that's kind of,
Well, collectively, yes, and so yeah, all that.
yeah,
But we can talk about these large currents of history, these big cycles of history that we're in, and there's a lot of astrological things talking about these cycles of history and things like that.
yeah, yeah,
But back to biomimicry and everything like that, the first question in anything, if you want anything new, the first question is what has to die? That is the first question
yeah,
because
yeah,
nature works. The new life comes in the rotten decay of the old. So there is a death process, and I think we're feeling it. Like
hmm,
might be in like the last run of democracy in this society. 250 years that we're celebrating now with the cage fight. Jesus.
isn't that
Jesus,
crazy?
like we're with this is not, and the definition of power. I know you've had some conversations about hard power and soft power before on
Yeah,
this,
yeah, yeah.
but and because we're the biggest and we're the biggest bully in town, and we've got the biggest hard power that makes us the best. Yeah, but that does not make us the best,
No,
and everybody knows that fundamentally.
but it's interesting what you're saying about the something has to die before something new can come up. I also feel like we have lost a healthy relationship to dying or to things also ending. It's not only our own death, but that human beings seem to have this idea that it's only going up, 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 that nothing ever has to disappear, to change, to die. We are so addicted to stability and more and more and more that we have forgotten that, as you say, that this is not the natural process. And
Well,
it's
one of the,
also,
yeah, you're a monk, right? So you know that when you enter the monastery, you're entering a death. There's actually monks that write that write their kind of obituaries when they walk in. You know that, and so it's these when you're talking about processes, that monastic process, it assumes a death at the very beginning. Okay, that's the big step
yeah, 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 yeah,
that that you
sure.
that you have to do and a requirement. So yeah, so the letting of things die is really important, and then it becomes then a question of this lovely word resilience that nature does have. It has resilience.
Hmm.
It comes back, or it comes in a new form, and that we can grow to trust that. I know in the 40-year committed relationship that I've had with my beautiful wife Mary, who's far ahead of me in her spiritual growth. She's the diamond, I'm the old chunk of coal. It's getting good. There's no question about that in my mind. But nonetheless, when you're in a long-term relationship with somebody, it's you can burn a relationship down in about 12 minutes.
Hmm.
Okay. You can burn the house down very quickly in an
Hmm.
argument and everything like that. And you're going to reach those points numerous times and all that. And we've done that enough where we have these tensions and everything, something that needs to be resolved, something that needs to die, something that needs to change, and it's up for
Yeah.
us. It's up. And you don't want to do it. You don't want to let go of your old way or your old way of thinking about things, your old role, or the socially constructed roles and everything like that. But you have to, because the
Hmm.
the the relationship is more important than those things.
Hmm.
There's a context that's greater than yourself. And in every one of those death processes, we've come to know that there's going to be something so much better that's going to come out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that I can rely on as well. So that's the
Yes.
evolutionary. Okay, I can rely on that. If especially as the more conscious we become, um, that becomes much more likely, and
Yeah.
we become more resilient.
Yeah, we become more resilient and we are more available for change to happen. We are less resisting change. We are actually very aware that change is a natural state as everything else. It's like, yeah.
Oh God,
And
we were at the Integral Conference, and I think it was Craig Hamlet was talking about the fact we might live to 120, 150.
yes, he
And
said
I was
that.
just sitting in my chair and just saying, my God, I hope I don't have this consciousness at 150. That's like life in hell. I hope I've moved out all this crazy stuff that's running in my mind and problems, financial problems, all that kind of stuff. It's like, boy, if I can't bet on evolution and me changing fundamentally, that 150 space isn't going to be that much fun.
No, no, but listen to that because my guru Andrew always said, like, isn't it much more scary to think about that you live forever, but not in this body, mind, personality? Because if we are the I am that is creating the universe, that isn't stopping with our personal death. So we
Right.
remain that creative force, and that's such a big thought. Like, there is actually no way out just because we die.
There,
And
yep.
if you let that in, then it's overwhelmingly beautiful and scary and everything.
Yeah, beautiful, beautifully stated. I'm doing a lot of the talking. You come in and make a statement that's about 10 times more important than anything I've said.
No, 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 no.
So
We
it's
are we are having a great
but
conversation.
that is a really important thing because
Yeah,
then the present moment becomes uh, actually much more important
yeah, yeah.
because
No, it really
we're
is.
we're going to go on forever, and we have to meet the challenges and the growing up and waking up at the present moment and stuff like that because otherwise we're just going to be there, running around in that particular consciousness So yeah, we got to attend to it. Attend
Yeah.
to the now. Okay.
And always now, that's the only place where we actually can catalyze change or help to catalyze change, no? It's always in the now. We cannot strategize our way to a different future. We have to actualize it in every moment.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if I've really answered your systems question all that well, but I guess my
Yeah,
answer
I think
to it is basically we are talking about the system. We
yes.
are talking about how the system is going to actually work and change, and this whole idea of some big top down thing that is going to come down and
Mm.
order coming down from the sky and solutions coming down. I have less faith in that than I do in this conversation.
Yeah, yeah, no, me too. I don't believe there, and it's actually the first attractor, the authoritarian attractor, that would bring that, and that's not what we want. No, if somebody comes down from high above with all the rules and regulations, we all will not be happy with it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
we can talk about Schmuckenberger's idea. I'm not in love with his framing of the situation, but I would rather have the conversation we're having now. And
yeah, yeah. We,
I want to ask you a question.
yep,
Uh, we've said the word guru a whole bunch.
yep.
Okay. And I want to talk about the guru as the third attractor and as the potential change agent. So let me start off with a dream that I had. I
Hmm.
think I may have told you about this dream. Every once in a while, I'll pop into a lucid dream. And I work on that, night and day in terms of trying to develop, lucidity in the daytime and in
Mm-hmm.
the nighttime world, and to work in the world of constrained by form and the world that's not constrained by form, which
Yeah,
are
yeah,
mirrors of each other, and a beautiful thing. So I
yeah.
had the privilege and most of those mirrors just mirror my, uh, psyche and all the junk that
Hmm.
I'm accumulating on the internet and everything on every day. But I had one just a little while back where I was in a guru seat in a lucid dream, and to feel what it felt like to be a guru.
Hmm.
And it was like I was in a training period.
Hmm.
It was this big kind of hotel thing, and there was a beautiful woman on my left hand side that
Mm.
uh, was like watching me in this training thing to like a kind of like a driver's ed coach. Okay.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Driver's
yeah,
ed
yeah,
coach.
yeah, yeah.
So what was happening was that these people were coming and they were just filleting their souls open, to you, like in a complete surrender of their souls. And so there's just tremendous power that people
Yeah,
are like giving up to be able to be exposed to this timeless, boundless, formless I am presence because their souls are wanting it. They're
yeah,
wanting it so
yeah,
badly or and they're wanting to discover it and they're wanting to rediscover it and they're wanting to reignite it and they want it so badly. And
yeah.
they're coming to you to that. And there was a a feeling of a sword or a knife edge in the middle of this conversation where if I could stay in this state of pure and unadulterated love, wanting nothing at all from that, this pure love state, this I am state, that there was a power in it that was just unbelievable. Like
Yeah,
you could go into that person and just pluck a heartbreak out, you know,
yeah,
you could pluck a thought out of their mind that was limiting them. That you could pluck out a trauma. You could do so many healing things. But then I was receding backwards into my smaller sense of self and saying, "Oh wow, boy, that's a beautiful woman. I wonder if I can have sex with her." Or wow, that's a really rich person. Maybe they can solve my financial problems.
hmm,
And
hmm.
or it was just like this, this edge of this sword, and it just as soon as that thought happened, it fell off.
Yeah,
Okay, and that this gal next to me just say, "This is why you need a driver's ed trainer, dude."
yeah,
Because you cannot maintain you cannot maintain this state. Okay,
yeah.
it's not a state, or it's a capacity. You can't maintain
It's a
this.
capacity. Yeah.
And so that was that was my only experience of kind of like the guru type state. And I have, we've had a lot of, fake gurus run through the thing. We've had abusive gurus, drunk gurus, all they're coming in from the east. They can't
And
handle.
real gurus too.
Yeah, what's that?
And real gurus too.
Yeah, and real gurus too. Exactly. At the same time,
The
and a lot
thing
of
is,
the big ones are real part of the time, but they just fall off
exactly,
that
that's
sword
that's
ending
the point.
constantly. Yeah.
I spent the last 10 years before Andrew passed, at the crash of his community, talking to him. It's really not over exaggerated what it means to be able to express the guru principle. We started to call it the guru principle. What you
Right.
described, the pure loving force that has so much potential, which is a
Yes,
real thing.
it
And
is.
how we as a culture, as whoever, can preserve that guru principle without all the other aspects that now it's my dog that is barking, you see.
Oh,
Sorry.
I love dogs. You want to bring her or him on the call? We could just.
He is here. I think he needs to go out probably. So uh, no, it was this whole question about how the guru principle can be saved in the midst of all these scandals and the obvious real challenges. And even the way you described your dream, Ross, it's very interesting because you described that you felt like I can pluck trauma, I can give them this and that. And one of the realizations Andrew had with everything that happened around him was you actually can't do anything for somebody. You can see you can be the vessel of transmission. You can give,
Hmm.
but you cannot interfere because most of the things that happened around Andrew were when he tried to interfere. And in the book that he wrote, he made a distinction between him seeing clearly
Hmm.
ego, and then pushing people towards a wall, and because he really wanted to liberate them, but it just didn't work. Sometimes people were not ready, they were not willing, they
Right.
couldn't take it. And but he also made the distinction to another kind of interaction where he just was plain wrong, where he didn't
Yep.
come from that
Right.
highest place, and he was wrong. But I'm more interested right now with your question, where the guru principle actually sees clearly, and where we ended in our investigation was more or less the guru can just give what he has to give, and the rest is in God's hand, or in the hand of the oneness, or of the receiver. You can never think you can actively interfere with the life of your student, and you have
Well,
to be very careful that you don't get all the projections that come towards you as a guru, because
that
that's extreme how much projection comes towards a guru when when
unbelievable.
when he
Yeah.
transmits the real thing. And the more he transmits, the more crazy is the stuff that is projected on him. That's an interesting thing too.
Yeah. Well, one thing though, just when you're talking about Andrew pushing people, I know that he did that, and I know that he did that deliberately. Um, the kind of dream that I had, my sense of what a guru can do in the initial thing, is not a push; it's a pull. Okay. So it is basically, in our now new language, just an embodiment of the third attractor, which begins to pull. Okay. And, you know, Jesus, who I studied, the Nazarene and all of that, did use miracles. He pulled things out of people, relieve them of things. He didn't push. He did some pushing with his disciples, but a lot of that in the early interactions, it was something that was being pulled out. It was healing. It was a sickness or something like that. And I think that gurus have used that over the years, to basically say, here's just a demonstration. This is going to help you believe because you need
Yeah,
a
yeah,
miracle. You need a miracle to help you believe in this new cause and effect. But I'm not a miracle worker. I'm not a miracle machine. That's not what I do. But
yeah.
for this first thing, a state change and a little miracle in your body mind would be helpful. so
But
that
Ross, the,
so that we
can you?
you've got some cleaned up ground that we can
Yeah,
develop.
yeah.
Right.
I just also want to bring in. It might also be the case that the guru pulls and pulls and pulls and opens all these big doors, and at one point it feels like, oh, it's not doing anything. This student of mine is still kind of stuck somewhere. And that's at least how it was with Andrew, that at that point then he felt like, now I probably have to push. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's an interesting thing, when the gurus came here to the United States, the first thing as people, they had just a huge difficulty dealing with the crazy, they're coming to Rome when they're coming to the United States. I mean,
Yep.
it's all here and they don't grow up in it. So you don't grow up and have an experience with drugs and with sex and with power and with
Yeah, yeah,
money.
yeah, exactly.
If you grow up here, you kind of have a lot of those childhood experiences, teenage experiences, in a way that doesn't hurt too many people, mostly just yourself.
Yep. Ross,
And
just a second. I have to put the dog out. He is
okay,
driving me
good.
crazy here.
We'll take a little break. Okay.
10 seconds. I think we are coming to an end anyway, but give me 10 seconds.
Okay, great.
Sorry. It's not
No,
my dog. That's the thing. It's my sister's dog, and she is away today, so I have dog duty.
nice to have a little pause, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, we could talk about, I guess, the gurus just a little bit more, but I think for ourselves and our listeners, there's some aspect of that needs to be embodied by everyone that might be saying, I am the third attract.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And I'm doubling
And
down. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, what I was thinking when you were talking so beautifully about the guru power, I think what also has to be re-embraced is the simple acknowledgement that some people have more depth in their realization of the I amness, or however we want to call it, than
Hmm.
others. This hierarchy of depth of realization is in the end what makes the guru special, because the guru is a vessel where the I amness can come through powerfully. He's more open than a student is that has not yet that experience, or is not yet awoken or awake. And I feel like postmodernity, to a certain extent, has tried to kind of temper that down to saying, yeah, the new guru is probably the Sangha, and we all are the I amness, and we all are God. And yes, from a certain perspective, that's true. But the lived reality with other people is that you meet somebody and you feel there is more depth in this person than in the other one. And that should be valued as a gift, where you can grow, where you can benefit from somebody else's deeper, profounder awakening, or however
Yes,
we
and
want to
and
call
it's
it.
and the context that we're talking about is more stabilized. Okay,
Yeah.
it has been reified and it's been made more real.
Yeah.
In integral speak, that's called an actualization hierarchy. It's a nice way
Mm,
of
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
actualization hierarchy, which is the right form of hierarchy. And you're
Yes,
right,
exactly.
postmodernism wants to break down all hierarchies and just say it's all we're all just, all just good. And I've been in postmodern communities and it doesn't work. It doesn't
No.
work because it ends up in the lowest common denominator of this of the situation, and there's no
Yeah.
authentic leadership. And so then it is much more prone to autocratic or much more prone to chaotic, okay,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not safe. It's because
Yeah.
it doesn't have the actualization that is necessary.
Yes.
And one of the things about spiritual practice, which would be a whole nother call that we could get into, a lot of it is just manual labor. In the West, in my initial training with all that, we were training to become what's called logothetes. So we're using the athlete. Okay, we're always using all these
Mm-hmm.
Greek and Latin words. So an athlete is someone that deliberately and consciously and repetitively trains their physical body for a certain event, so they can jump higher or be quicker on a field or have more endurance, whatever. And it's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of training. And everybody will tell you that you cannot get there to the highest levels without practice, 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 practice. You've got,
Yeah. Yeah.
an NBA basketball player, you're going to shoot a million free throws, okay, to be able to
Mm-hmm.
sink that one in under pressure, okay. So there's this practice thing, and a lot of the things I think that we got from the East, which was really good, is come in and say, "Whoa, there's some manual labor associated with this. Okay,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you've got to sit down, you've got to meditate and calm your mind. You have
Yeah.
to do these mantras, okay, over and over and over and over and over again. This same sort of drudging kind of repetition that an athlete does. So it's a
Yeah.
logo thing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
that's part of it. That's part of cleaning the vessel up.
Yeah.
It just
That's the training ground.
happen, right?
Yeah.
So.
Great. Did we miss something that you wanted to bring in, Ross?
Well, I wanted to bring in more of you because I want you to answer all these questions for us. But I'll just close with this: is that I think the approach that we're taking here is valid,
Mm-hmm.
and you started with a question, okay? And so people want to know what's the answer, what's the answer, what's the answer, what's the answer, and I'm not sure that that's the right place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with a question is much better,
Yes.
because then it leads us then down a pathway of exploration. We're just exploring here cognitively right now, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of other ways to begin to explore, and energetically to explore, and socially to explore. And I haven't even cooked you dinner yet, out of the garden, stuff like that. There's all kinds of ways of being together, but I think that we cannot be afraid of not knowing,
Yeah.
because that puts us on this path of risk and trust and transformation and discovering, which is where all the fun is. That's where all the fun is
Yeah.
in this
Exactly.
in this discovery process. So being able to trust ourselves, trust the inquiry,
Yeah.
you know, um,
I so
is
agree, and learn to stay in the insecurity without leaning back. It's a stay in the insecurity and leaning forward to see where am I called to. Like I really love what you said about service. In the end, it's we want to be attentive to what we are called to in every moment, in every second, and then
right.
and then take it from there. Not solidify anything, but really be just attentive to what is the next appropriate step.
Well, exactly right.
Yeah,
And and I think one of the other things that in integral speak that is useful to the conversation is that everything has a dignity and a disaster. It has something that we were talking about, the gurus. the
Yeah.
incredible dignity, and then it also can be a disaster, a downside. Service, which I was talking about, is one of those things.
Yes.
Because if you just surrender yourself to somebody, you can oftentimes just end up surrendering to their ego and
Yeah.
putting along behind them like a little duck and a little servant into just a disaster. Okay,
Yeah.
that's happened to me numerous times, and
Yeah. Yeah.
then it needs to correct and basically say, well, maybe you're not, maybe that is not the right thing for you to do. Let me give you another job here
Yeah.
to to be able to begin to employ that. So there there is um, there is no absolute except for the
No.
ground that we're talking about.
Yeah. And in this ground, we juggle all these paradoxes that we were discussing, that I was talking about at the conference, and I had many conversations where these paradoxes pop up, and I get this sense like that in this wide field, we want to hold it all lightly and just be able to juggle it and see what is true in every moment, then take
Yes,
it from there.
and two things, that look like they're opposites are both true at the same time.
Exactly.
We're not used to having that kind of a
No.
world
Yeah.
where we can begin to hold multiple truths
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
That goes back to this beautiful word, aletheia. It's that which wakes us up from sleep.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
we're
really
talking about.
beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
not the truth, that this is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
This the fact thing. So yeah, it'll be fun to see how we walk with this over this next decade,
Yeah.
and begin to lead.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
so,
Thank you so much.
well, it was fun. It's fun
Yeah.
getting me out of my task list and my my to
Yeah, that's a good
my
place to get out of the task list.
task.
Thank you so much.
Daniela is really good, and thank you for picking me out of the crowd and inviting me. Uh, yeah, it's
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
I'm kind of a face in the crowd in a lot of ways, but
Yes.
that person sitting next to you might just be the right person.